My name is Maya. I just recently retired about 6 months ago, but I did competitive Irish dancing, which is not anything that you guys probably do. It's technically dance, but it's as much of a sport that you have to make yourself into an athlete to do it. So when I was little, I was always into dance. I hated sports. It scared me. If you threw a ball at me, I would run away from it. But I fell in love with dance, and so I did every type of dance. My mom was really good about that. She always made sure that I would get to practices and that I would be trying everything I possibly could. And when I was 8 or 7, she took me to this Irish dance show, and we at the time lived in Wenatchee. I don't know if you guys know where that is, but it's kind of a small town, and so it was really odd for a show like this to be coming there. And I just remember seeing these people come on stage with their we wear these tap shoes that also double as a ballet shoe, so you can go up on your toes and make noise with them. And I was just mesmerized. I couldn't believe, and in that moment I was like, that's what I want to do, because I didn't feel that way about ballet or tap or jazz or anything, but I was totally in love. And so there happened to be a recreational, this lady that was teaching Irish dance in this small town, and I begged my mom for months to let me go, and she was like, no, you're doing all this other stuff, you don't need that on top of your plate too. And I was only 8. But when I started to do it, it was what I wanted to do. And it wasn't competitive really. We would go to local competitions, but my coaches at the time didn't really know how to get us to the bigger competitions. And so, I was fine with that. I was totally having a great time. I was a kid, and so I was competing, but it was just small competitions here in Seattle. And so around 13, my parents got divorced, and it was kind of rough because my home life never really was very good. My parents were always fighting, and so that's why I would always want to go to the studio and dance, because for hours and hours, right after school, I would go straight to the studio because that was my safe place. It was my therapy. I could dance and sweat and cry all by myself, and it was good. But so my parents got divorced and we moved here to Seattle, and I was finally able to I was living with my dad, and I could finally get out of that environment of kind of being abused at home, and being able to finally breathe and discover who I was. And when I moved here, I got the opportunity to go and find a new coach, because at the time the coach that I had didn't, like I said, he didn't really know how to get me to the bigger competitions. That's what I always wanted to do, because I knew that I had potential, but I had gotten as far as I could with the talent that I had. I needed someone to guide me. And so this lady in Vancouver, Canada, which is pretty far from here by car, I met her at a competition and was this lady's great. I really want to go train with her, because she had all these really amazing girls that were winning everything, and I was just amazed, because I was talented, but I wasn't placing where I wanted to. I was at the very bottom at every competition, and so I always had this fire to be the girl that did win. No. And so I started, this was at the end of my career. It was the last 3 years that I started to dance with her. And 6 months in, I went to our regionals, basically, which is Washington, California, Colorado, Arizona, and I think Nevada too. And so, I previously had gone there for the last 5 years that I'd been dancing, and with this new coach, I went, and I didn't really know how good I was, because I had no gauge. I wasn't allowed to compete in the 6 months that I was dancing for her. And so I went and I won, and I was just shocked, because the years before I was 20th or 40th or whatever. I was nowhere near the podium, and to just come out of nowhere and just win was just like the best thing ever. And you know, I'm Japanese in an Irish dance, like, and so all these Caucasian girls are just like, what the hell is this? Like, and so yeah, it was just fantastic. And from there, it just kind of snowballed. And I ended up going to nationals a few months later, and you know, there I didn't even get in the top 100 or 50 or whatever it was. And that year I was top 3. And so that was just wild. And then I went to the World Championships, and that was like my last competition, and I got 10th place, and I was like, this is just crazy. Like, and through that journey, like, I found who I was as a person. I have such solid self-esteem. I didn't have that growing up. And dance gave me that. It made me believe in myself, that I could do whatever I wanted to, that I could be anything I wanted to be. And that was just, it's the most beautiful gift. And now I've retired and I'm going to university, but it's kind of the unsaid confidence that I carry around with me today. Because I mean, I know all of you feel this, but when you have success and you have that concrete trophy or whatever title it is, you know what it took to make yourself into the person that got there. And that's just, it's invaluable, it's priceless. So yeah, that's my story.
How old are you now?
I'm only 18.
Oh, that's amazing. Doesn't she seem mature?
Yeah.
And the thing I like to add too is because, you know, watching her go through these world championships and place consistently every year. And the last one was in Ireland.
Yeah.
I mean, what a place to do the world championship in Irish dancing and still place in the top 10.
Why'd you retire?
Well, at the time, so I had pretty bad shin splints, and well, my coach, she had gotten me to be the top 3 in every competition I had been to, but I wanted to be, I wanted to win. You know what that's like. But in order to do that, I would have to move, like literally move from Seattle and go find the coach to do that. And so I was kind of at a crossroads. It was either I was going to do that or I was going to go to university. And I really was drawn to going to college, and because I had felt like I had kind of outgrown the dance thing. Like, I really made myself there, but I just was drawn in this other direction. And so yeah, that's why I'm not dancing anymore. But I'm going to Cascadia and Bothell. Yeah.
So I was going to say, because I was going to talk about that point too, because in every athlete's life, there comes a point when they wrestle with giving up the sport. And it's a tough one for every athlete because they're going to miss it. Because sometimes there comes a time and it's time to move into a new chapter of your life. And it doesn't mean that you give up what was there. It's just because it was such a part of who you are. You're just going to move into another chapter or something new or moving forward. Priorities do change. And so that was when she first told me she was going to retire. I was like, are you sure you want to do this? She's like, yeah. I said, and you've thought it through? And she's like, yes. And I said, and you're good with your decision? And she said, yes. Because not everybody is good with the decision to retire.
It's rough giving up, something that you've given yourself to. I mean, it's like who you are. It becomes your identity. And so to walk away from that, my whole family was like, what? No, you're not going to do that. Are you kidding?
At the top of her game.
Yeah, and I was like, yeah, I'm going to walk away. Exactly, right?
and the sport is who you have been, but who are you going to be?
Yes.
And that's what makes the difference in whether you continue with the sport or whether there's someplace else you want to go.
Right.
And that's what makes it an okay decision.
Yeah, because I mean, life is just, you're always rebuilding yourself and making yourself into who you're going to be next. And for me, I saw that it was kind of the end, like, and I just really wanted to figure out what I was gonna do next, what was the big thing, and that's kind of what I'm doing right now, is I'm trying to figure out what that next thing is. So.
Yeah.
That's
So.
fun. It's fun.
Right? Yeah.
And so that's when. So it's important that you're good with a decision, and it's not somebody pushing you to do it, and then you kind of cave in, or was it an injury that maybe could have been overcome, and then you go, oh man, I'm retired, or I should have done something. But with her, I feel pretty good. She thought through everything, made a decision, and she's good with it. And that's one thing that all of us will wrestle with at some point when you're a high level athletes.
Well, I think when you're at that high level, like, you have a pretty solid self-awareness with yourself. Like, you probably know, like, intuitively if it's wrong, like, because regret's one of the worst things you never want to regret. So.
I'll drink to that.
Yeah. So
When I went to Atlanta, I went indoor skydiving.
There you go.
Isn't that fun?
Yeah.
Oh, I love it.
Cool.
So you still live adventure.
Yes.
Last year I went zip lining. It's a thrill.
Yes.
Awesome.
All right.
So thanks, Maya. Wise words from an 18-year-old.
Yeah.